what I said on here, more than a sport, it became a cultural phenomenon. Okay. Well, I'll say this. For those of you who don't know, I've been collecting tennis antiques since I started playing in the early 80s. So what I brought in today is a small portion of my collection. I think about 5,000 unique items dating back to the 1870s and over about 700 cans, lots of stuff. But anyway, before the tennis boom occurred, we're talking pre-1962, people played obviously with wooden rackets then and white tennis balls. This racket, the Wilson Jack Creamer autograph, is and will always be the best-selling racket of all time. So it was the #1 sell racket since it was introduced in 1949 until the early 80s when they ceased production of it. There it is with a Pennsylvania white tennis ball. And so then so in 1962, we had 4 million players in the United States. And then in 1970, we got up to 10 million. 1980, we peaked at about 18 million players. Now these are active players, but if you look at it, they report this in different ways depending on how they look at it, but there could be up to 30 million that were playing that year, depending on how the survey was methodology. They just played one time, they would count them. That's how I got to 30 million. But 18 million were people that were playing on a regular basis. And then it started to decline after the boom into the 90s, and then it stabilized, and it stayed at about 17 million for several years. It really wasn't going down, it wasn't going up. So pre-pandemic, we had 17.9 million players. And then the pandemic, as you all well know, in addition to other sports that will not be named today, that gets too much press, we have had a boom again as well. And so we're now, this year, up to 27.3 million players. And if you're not aware of this, the USTA has a national USTA wants us to get to 35 million players by 2035. So I think we're on the way to doing that. So tennis became a lifestyle. And so everyone's probably familiar with Stan Smith Adidas shoe. It's an iconic shoe. It is the best selling shoe for tennis, not best selling shoe overall, but for tennis and by far. And I was fortunate enough to get a Stan Smith actual worn shoe that he signed. And so his autobiography is entitled, "Some People Think I'm a Shoe." But for those of you that only know of him as a shoe, he was the #1 player in the world in 1972, and he was a wonderful player. It served well there. All right, let's move on. And so I'm sure everyone's heard about Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. Well, you know about them playing, but you may not be aware that he played Margaret Court in 1973. And this is talks about before that match and his female challengers. Well, he beat Margaret Court, who was the #1 player in the world. She was higher rated than Billie Jean King, and a lot of people don't realize that. He beat her on Mother's Day badly. It was called the Mother's Day Massacre. And so that's what they called it. And so they felt like, well, when he's playing Billie Jean, he's gonna beat her easily. Well, as we know, that didn't turn out to be the case. He got a little too confident. But move on. So this is the match that changed America, the Battle of the Sexes. September 20th, 1973, in the Houston Astrodome. So we had 30,000 people in attendance at the Astrodome, which is still is the record for most people at a tennis match in the United States. Now, the record now is, I don't know if you remember this, but Federer and Zverev played in Mexico City and they beat the record. But it's the record in the United States. And it was quite a production. If anybody's ever watched the movie or seen it, it was something. And so you'll see back there, lots of things happened as a result of that particular match. It was, and I have a cop back in the back. You'll see there is a mechanical cast iron bank that I got that they made as a result of it. So that really helped tennis. It helped fuel tennis because it along with Title IX, which happened the year before. So some of the younger ladies in the audience, you may not be aware of this, of all the opportunities that you have now compared to before Title IX. There wasn't high school tennis for, if you played on the boys team. And so it really changed things, and it helped out with the boom. Okay, the tennis ball explosion. So there are hundreds of brands, and as I said, one national exception. Everybody wanted to play tennis. It was glorious. It was like that other sport that's going on now. Okay, move on. And then the racket revolution. So we started out with wood rackets, and then we went to steel. The Wilson T2000, which who played with that racket? Jimmy Connors. That was his racket. And then the aluminum racket, that was a head competition played with Arthur Ashe. And then the Prince Classic racket was introduced in 1976. That was the first oversized racket that we had. And that really made a big difference for people because, for those of us who played with the wood rackets or the small head rackets, if you didn't hit the ball in the very middle sweet spot, it was off center hit. It wasn't going anywhere very well. So that was huge. And then the Prince graphite racket is the most best-selling graphite racket of all time, and it was a fantastic racket. And Prince, I'm not sure. I think they still make it. Yes, I'm pretty sure they do. So it's I have and all these I have back there. You can look at them. Move on. So reading about tennis, America couldn't get enough about tennis. So Tennis Magazine, which started in 1965, and World Tennis, those were the major publications, and they ballooned in their subscriptions during the tennis boom. All right. Kentucky joined the boom. So some of you all are probably aware that we had a major professional tournament. I say this tournament is now and has been our best tournament for many years. But this is the granddaddy of them all, the Louisville International Tennis Classic, which was held in the 70s. They have a program back there. That tournament was played with all the top players in the world were here. Laver, Rosewall, they all played in it. And so it was held at the Louisville Tennis Center over by the zoo. And so that was an amazing time. League tennis started. Does anybody know what year league tennis started? You want to throw out a guess? USTA league tennis. Started in 1980. Yep, and so this is actually from a magazine I found in 1980 where they're talking about it, Tennis Everyone, introducing, it was at that time sponsored by Michelob Light. And then some of you all remember that are of a certain age, then it went to Volvo. So for years, we always called it the Volvo